China, plane spotters and flying without hydraulics. All that is coming up in the next few minutes in this week's FullFlap.tv Connect. I'm Vicky Ferrer. AOPA Expo took place at the end of last week. If you're not familiar with it, then it's the last big trade show of the year in the US. Now, once again, there is just so much to tell you that my advice is just do a Google search or check out any of the great magazines that will be coming out in the next few months because they will have plenty on it. Also, news from Diamond this week. They're going to be offering their own insurance for their aircraft. The great thing about this is it should be a lot cheaper. Car manufacturers did this in the 80s when underwriters wanted too much money. Not surprising, you'll get extra discounts if you learn to fly at a Diamond-approved school. Cirrus say the personal jet project is still on course with 75 hours of flying now logged on their prototype. The firm think there might be a few changes before it's released, and if you're waiting for one, it could be ready by 2010, but more likely it'll be 2011. You can of course practice it already on the Flight Sim X-Plane. Talking about flight sims, let's get this one in here. If you like nothing more than dogfighting in your front room or want to experience the stomach-churning experience that is the Red Bull Air Race, then how about this? We saw this online. It's called the Dream Flyer, and this new bit of kit that your partner will love having installed in your house. One consolation is there are no motors to make any noise, so how does it work? Well, quite simply, when you push on the joystick, it moves a chair through a system of weights and pulleys. Simple, and it'll cost just under $3,000. And if you're watching us in China, and we know that there are some of you that are, hello, then you could be on one of the verge of the most exciting times in aviation, not just in light aviation, but in jets. The manufacturer Embraer said this week they think you guys are going to need 875 aircraft by 2028 to cope with air travel between the regions. The firm are pretty confident you'll be flying one of their aircraft because of their generally smaller size, and they think you'll be carrying up to a maximum of about 120 people at a time. Talking of commercial jobs, and if you want an airline job but can't get one straight away, how about a cargo job? Boeing think air freight will triple by 2027. You might be sitting there wondering how that's possible if the economy seems to be so shaky, but they say cargo has always bounced back well from previous slumps, even like 9/11. Now, we don't talk about plane spotting on FullFlap.tv because we want you in command of an aircraft, not watching it. But we had to talk about this. The National Dutch Spotters Championships 2008. That's right, competitive plane spotting, or at least testing their knowledge. It takes place on the 29th this month in somewhere in the Netherlands. Competitors will battle for the trophy in tests that check their ability to spot the differences, aircraft models, colouring and types. Teams are said to be gathering from across the country. May the best spotter win. Moving swiftly on, if you live in the southern hemisphere, then I'm sure you're laughing at us right now, as up here in the north we get short days, endless cloud and rain. So, not surprisingly up here, we try to finish off the year by getting drunk instead. FullFlap.tv is going to be at the UK Aviators Ball at the end of the month. Remember Martin Bethel from last week? Well, Martin is also a committee member of the British Disabled Flying Association, who the event is being held in aid of this year. Rick caught up with him while filming at the Fly Professional Flight Training Show last weekend.
You've got the annual ball coming up soon. Great event.
Yep, looking forward to it. Our second biggest fundraiser this year for the British Disabled Flying Association, but I believe you've got involved with it.
Yeah, absolutely. FullFlap.tv, we're going to be showing off that tow video that we did earlier this year, which was a lot of fun, showing it off to all the guests there. And I think there's some tickets still available too.
There are some few amount of tickets left. If you go to www.aviatorsball.co.uk and have a look on there, hopefully you can come along.
Yeah, we're both going to be there.
FullFlap.tv is your fast and fresh roundup of what's going on in the skies. Whether you fly a 747, a bizjet, or the tiniest microlight, we take a pilot's point of view. It's the stories that excite you, are useful, or just make you laugh. It's the stories that remind you why you love flying, or even should start flying for the first time. So great new aircraft, fascinating interviews with people around the world, and features that will make you laugh and cry. The best bit, it's all completely free. You might be watching this right now on one of these great websites. You can also subscribe using iTunes or YouTube. But perhaps the easiest way is simply to let us know where to send our email updates. We'll tell you what's going on behind the scenes, what features we're working on, what interviews we're lining up, and tell you the best websites to watch our show on. Simply go to www.fullflap.tv and tell us where to send it. It's not surprising that flight simulators on home computers are so popular. After all, once you've bought the software, that's it. You can practice your skills and live the dream of getting airborne anytime you like. That experience is obviously great practice for us, but it's not quite good enough to count towards a license. You might think the only option then is to get in one of those gigantic hydraulic simulators, but no, there is an in-between. I went to Harvard Aviation, one of the sponsors of fullflap.tv, to have a look at theirs.
Have you flown a twin before?
No.
Right, okay, so we don't need to worry about all these, we just worry about the throttle quadrant at the moment.
Right.
We're all set up on the runway, so it's normal controls for the on the rudder pedals to keep it straight on the wheels. We've got the parking brake set.
Okay. So parking brakes are off.
Make sure we're aligned and full power.
So it's just both throttles the same forward.
Yep.
So if we put them all the way up. Right, so I'm having to steer straight away on my pedals as usual. And in fact, although I can't feel any vibration off the ground, there's still a sort of resistance on it, and that's quite good actually.
Yeah.
You can almost feel the tyre on the ground, even though you know there's no real tyre there. And
so
then
we've got to our airspeed, so you can start pulling gently back on the control column.
okay, and there's quite a bit of resistance on that column as well.
And you've just taken to the air. And now you're in the air, don't forget you've got gears on this, so you can pull the gears up. We've got a positive rate of climb on both the instruments.
While it's great, I've got all these instruments in front of me, how useful is it? How can it help me in my actual training course?
Oh, it's hugely beneficial because if you're shooting ILSs or doing instrument training or whatever, it cuts down the cost considerably. The CAA say that you can do 30-35 hours on the simulator instead of doing it in the aircraft as well.
Because conventional training when you're doing an ILS approach, that costs you money every single time, doesn't it? That you go in.
I mean, it can be anywhere up to £30 an ILS. So if you're doing an hour in the simulator today and you do 10 ILS approaches, you've saved yourself a small fortune. Just pull back on the control column because you're losing a little bit of height. And
right, so that's massive actually. That could save you a lot of money.
Absolutely. And then you've got the landing fees, ILS approaches, air traffic control, airways fees, all that kind of stuff on top. And of course you've got the benefit that A, it doesn't hurt if you get it wrong, and B, you can reset it and just carry on doing ILS after ILS approaches.
Yeah, so you haven't got to sort of fly around the circuit again just to get yourself back to the starting point. Now, what's funny is that I'm absolutely engrossed in this because although there's no bumps, it feels like a very smooth day. I'm still having to focus. I'm still flying it.
Oh yeah, you very quickly forget it's a simulator.
Yeah, and that's funny because I think everyone is used to flying things like flight sim at home on their computer, and you kind of half-heartedly play with the joystick and you move it around a bit. But here it is very responsive actually.
Oh yeah.
Where can we go now? Can we go to France or something?
Yes, just take us to the east.
Oh, okay.
You may not get these stunning sunsets and the choice of scenery that you get on Flight Sim X, but using a setup like this does allow you to count the hours. If you're after an instrument rating or a UK IMC, then this will be a much cheaper way of getting to your goals.
We're going to be in California next week. That's fullflap.tv Connect, and I'm Vicky Farah.